Hey there guys, what's going on? So, let's get right down to business here. No unnecessary intros or asides or anything like that. Let's just get right into the meat of the situation, or the scented meat, if you get that inside reference. True Detective. I wanted to do a follow-up video to talk about the finale as this was coming to a close. Unfortunately, I only got the idea to really do this, post videos about True Detective later on my channel, but I wanted to do it because I haven't gotten into a series like this in a really long time. This was a lot of fun for me to watch, as it was for a lot of people, and I wanted to kind of just give my final thoughts as it's finally coming to a close. Of course, if you don't already know, by now, True Detective is an 8-episode anthology series for Season 1. So when I say finale, in a sense, this story, as it is, True Detective will be back, but its story and its characters are all riding off into the sunset here. So without further ado, let's get into the final episode of True Detective, Episode 8. And as a requisite warning, because whether you post about it, make videos about it, you have to do it. Spoiler alert, spoilers ahead, spoilers in the plot, whatever I may give away in the next couple of minutes here. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. So if somehow you didn't see the show last night, you haven't seen it yet today, just warning you in advance, there will be spoilers here. Here, that'll be spoilers, lad. Right, that sort of thing. Okay, so, the final episode of True Detective. As I had spoken of a little bit in the prior video that I had done, a lot of this was about Detective Cole, Detective Hart, played respectively by Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, catching up in the present generation from the flash forwards and back to the present day, finally catching up with each other, getting together to say, we left something undone, we didn't get this done, we gotta fix it. And you see them start to do that, you see them start shaking things down, you see them pulling old case files, you see them getting back into the meat of this thing. Now, we're in the final episode here, and you see them closing in. You know that they're closing in. But for this episode, we start off with the killer. The very twistedly macabre, disassociated personality influenced Errol Childress. And I must say, there really is such a level of unsettling horror to that was really so perfect throughout this series, being the Louisiana bayou, the very rural, off the grid, very, I don't know if hillbilly's the right word, but like very rustic people, very, very close to the earth, just very unsettling imagery, and it really takes hold the most in this episode. It's not in the sense of it, exploiting that sort of rural setting for gore and ultra violence, although there is some later on in the episode. But it's just, there's just something about that, and this guy, this just strange man who just is so recognizable to people as they're being questioned by Cole and Hart, and yet so unassuming all at once in his job as just, he's a guy mowing lawns and painting houses and all of this stuff. And yet he just slips so much under the grid. He doesn't even have a birth certificate, this whole thing. And I know some people really weren't impressed at the end of episode 7 when we get to the end of it, and you really, you get, this is your look at the killer. Nick Pizzolatto even said in the Behind the Episode for episode 7, the Behind the Episode segment, that you're getting your first real clear and obvious look at the killer. I know some people were a little unimpressed by that. Of course, if you go back in your memory bank to this series, you know that the killer also made an appearance in within the first couple of episodes in flashbacks back in '95. But the detectives were so just distracted or caught up in just how unassuming he was and how he didn't fit with what the profile and what they had heard about, that he just he slipped through the nets, basically. Of course, as Cole and Hart, they go through and they catch it because Martin Hart suddenly remembers just one little detail that sticks out. And I could go through the plot and really, sum it up point by point, the things that I liked. But I think the overall feeling that I get from the finale. I want to give you my overall impression, because I realize I'm kind of heading in the wrong direction here by just sort of going through the plot. You know the plot. The reason I'm making this video is because, I want to give my final thoughts on something I was really engrossed in. And to really get into that, I ultimately, I think, not everyone is going to be impressed with that, the way that this ended. I think people are going to expect more through the theories that were conjured and brought about, and what people, thought that this connected to this and this connected to that. Maybe they're going to be disappointed that that doesn't really pan out and that doesn't really show up. But if anything, I think that's interesting, because the show was deep enough and was filled with just a hint enough of darkness behind every corner, and possible monsters and things all around, that it really led to and really helped, it really gave this air of interpretation all the way up until the end. And you realize, well, okay, it's not as deep as I think it is. This doesn't run as deep as I think it goes, but the story is still interesting because it's such a solid character story. It's such a solid, crime noir story, and it has all these elements that doesn't just leave you. I mean, in a sense, you go from a linear point A to point B, but it's not so predictable as, you feel every single step along the way. It's from here to here to here to here. That's it. It does go from here to here to here in its way, but there are so many webs and branches and devil nets all in different directions that you're not always left feeling 100% sure until the final act, until the final moments and the credits roll. I thought for sure that this was going to be the end for Rustin Cole, for Matt McConaughey's character. I thought for sure, with his outlook and his philosophy and the way that he was projected all throughout the series, there was just only so much, he was living to see this case through. I thought that was going to be the way of it. Once he'd seen it through, seen all that, there's going to be a way he just wasn't going to make it to the end. That was just what I thought. And when it gets down to that final scene with Errol Childress, and they have their final confrontation with him, and Rustin gets stabbed, and Marty gets an axe thrown at him, and I mean, it ended up turning out so much better than what I had originally hoped for. This thing, I feel like Rustin is going to die, and then, you see him get stabbed, and then all of a sudden Marty gets hit with an axe, and then, I don't care what you're thinking, what your theory is when you look back on it. In that moment, as it's happening, this is your first airing, you're first watching this episode, you're in the moment, I was so like I said, I expected the thing with Cole, but then Marty gets hit, and Marty's down, and it's like, oh, no, you can't do this to me. You cannot do this to me. You can't. It's like life isn't filled with fairy tale, happy, good endings and all that stuff. But it's like, I don't want an ending like this. It really ended up so much better than I would have ever hoped for. And I liked that, for as dark as Rustin Cole was, and as dark as the whole character was portrayed, and his failing, his perspective on humanity and keeping himself apart from humanity, just how much he really he had this moment. And it wasn't, I saw some people projecting it as like, oh, he's born again, and all this stuff in the moment. And I thought, no, I thought it was really great in that sense. I think that was actually really my favorite part of the finale, is just that he has this moment of being under, and you think he's gonna die because the way he got stabbed, Jesus Christ. He has this moment, and he's under, he's in the blackness, he's in the dark, he's in this coma, and he, it really, it's the best is to see it played out, and to see Matthew McConaughey deliver the monologue, and how it really, how it goes in the scene. But I just like how he goes under, he goes into this blackness and this dark, and he feels this love there, and this warmth, and this feeling of his daughter and his father, and I just thought it was, for as dark and as gritty, as intense and as sad and as depressing as this show is, I just thought it was such a great way of saying, for as much darkness as there is in the world, there's darkness at the beginning, and we have light now, so I think light's winning. and I just totally botched that end quote, but when you actually hear it, it'll make more sense. It didn't change his beliefs or views all at once. He wasn't born again. It changed him in the sense of, well, maybe this, there's more to this. I felt this feeling inside of me, and maybe I wasn't supposed to come back, and maybe I wasn't supposed to be here, but like there's this feeling that there's light in the world. I think really the best of it all was just seeing the two of them in the final moment in the hospital scene, and just really, just when you get right down to it, getting back down to square one with the strength of your characters and the ability of these two guys, as their chemistry worked together, both in their characters and the way that they portrayed them, and just really getting back down to that. Was everything perfect about the finale? Probably not, but I thought it was a really cool way to close it, and I was really, really impressed with True Detective, and I just really had such a great time watching the series, and I hope you all did too. But give me your impressions down in the bottom there. I know that was a big jumbled mess of an explanation, and I was all over the place, but tell me your thoughts on the finale of True Detective, what you guys thought about it, what you were hoping to see, you didn't see, some of the stuff you liked, what you didn't like, and what your final impressions of it were. I definitely give it 2 thumbs up. It was really great to catch on to a cool series like this, and I hope that there'll be something really cool coming along the pipeline soon. But thank you guys for watching this, spoiler laden as it is. Again, give me your comments, whatever, subscribe, follow along. Plenty more videos to come. Gonna keep taking the world by storm in 2014. So keep on following, guys. Thank you for watching.